Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host. This time, well, first of all, this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and then examine the stories and the art. This time, what I want to take a look at here is this from 1988, Captain Justice, issues 1 and 2 from Marvel Comics. And you probably say, who the hell is Captain Justice? Marvel, you say? Well, he's not a Marvel character. Because Captain Justice, it was a TV tie-in as an adaptation of the pilot episode of the very short-lived TV series, Once a Hero. And if you are interested at all in seeing that, it is on YouTube. Just enter it into the selection bar, Once a Hero. And it's got the pilot. I don't know how many episodes I've got, but it's got the pilot episode and at least a couple of the regular episodes. And Once a Hero was an action-adventure TV series, live action, which aired briefly on the ABC network in September and October of 1987. It starred Milo O'Shea, Jeff Lester, Caitlin Clark, and Robert Forster. And Robert Forster is probably the best-known actor from that series. And the premises of the show was about an older cartoonist whose comic book superhero, Captain Justice, which he had created, erupts from the comic book universe into the real world. 7 episodes were produced, but it was canceled after the airing of only 4 episodes. And one of the producers of the show was Ira Steven Beer of the Star Trek franchise. So it has a little bit of pedigree there. Of course, that was before. He was working on Star Trek Next Gen, etc. Now, this book is the adaptation was written by J.M. DeMatteis and the art by Steve Leialoha. Now, in the first issue, Steve Leialoha did both the pencils and inks, but in the second issue, Tony DeZuniga did the inks, and I think he kind of tightened up the Leialoha's art a little bit, because Leialoha's work is fairly loose here. And he did the covers. Again, Steve Leialoha was born in 1952 as an American comic book artist, and he came to prominence in the 70s and 80s primarily as an inker and an occasional penciler at Marvel and DC Comics. He started in comics in 1975 on the independent publication Starreach for 4 years. He freelanced for Marvel on many titles such as Warlock, Spider-Woman, Marvel Team Up, and Howard the Duck, etc. For DC, he did work on some of the Batman and others. Later on, Vampirella and Sandman and Fables for Vertigo. So he has a long-running career as well. I presume he's still working. I don't know if he's still working in the field or not. But because I don't get too many of the contemporary comics. There just isn't time enough to read them, and they cost a little too much. But I do pick something up once in a while. Especially some of the special things. I don't know if they had originally intended to carry on doing Captain Justice in the comics, or just this this adaptation of the pilot. But that's all they produced. Well, now, as I said, this is an adaptation of the pilot, and I'm not going to go into real detail on it. I'll just talk a little bit about it here in issue 1. You can see right here, it says, from the new hit TV series Once a Hero, and I think these actually hit the stands after the show had been canceled, or about the time, because this is March #1 from 80. So it would have been, it would have been after the show had actually been canceled. That's a little thing. That's supposed to be an interview with Stan Lee, the comics reporter, talking about Captain Justice, as if it were a real title at the time. And then we get a little introduction here of some of the covers of some of the stories over the years, because at this time Captain Justice is supposed to have been around for like 30 years. It was getting stale. He's basically a Superman type knockoff. He's that kind of character, but he's pretty much stuck in the types of stories that Superman had in the during the Goofy Silver Age. And but those are supposedly there in the 80s. They're still the same kind of stories, and sales are dropping off. People aren't interested, and it's the title is about to be canceled. And that's what this is about. We get this adventure, come right into this one adventure, and it turns out, there he is smashing through the. When they showed the scenes for in the comic world, they made everything flat, 2-dimensional, very, very, very fakey, and of course is the intention, to make it look different from the real world. And here's the secret. Here's Captain Justice in his secret identity. Look after an adventure, looking through his stuff, his clippings, and said, "Hey, I had this adventure before." Then then they show that he's unaware of being a comic book character. What's going on, Abner? What's going on? And there. Wakes Abner up in the middle of the night. He can hear him. Then it's sometime later. Abner has a bunch of kids in his studio, and he is talking to the kids, rehashing one of the adventures. And then they said, "Yeah, that's was such and such and such and such from this issue." And it was, "Oh yes, I guess I did." And he realizes he's being redundant, repetitive. The only one that really sticks by him is this kid Wally, and but they say, "Well, how can I change him?" And they said, "Give him big guns." Well, he's the kind of character who doesn't need guns, and make him kill people, and more violence, and dark and gritty. This is at the early stages of the dark and gritty stuff in the comics. See, you can see here it's kind of loose and playing kind of fast and loose. It looks like Leialoha may have been rushed producing this. Producing this stuff, and but it is rather loose. But his visual storytelling is fine. Just the art is a bit loose, and I've seen Leialoha's stuff on many other things, and I don't say anything bad about him. I like him. It's just kind of loose. What was kind of neat was running through the here's having another adventure. His girlfriend Lois Lane stand in and managed again, smashes in. Then they start to fade. Uh-oh, what's happening? And they realize, oh, people aren't interested anymore. And we'll all just fade away. Then, oh my gosh, even the villain is on his side here. So we got to go to the real world and see what's happening. So they talk about it. He has to go through the Forbidden Zone, and the thing that's funny here is he goes to leave, and he leaves his girlfriend in the clutches of the villain. Of course, this time the villain is on his side, saying, "Oh, I hope he knows what he's doing," but still, just leave her chained up to the wall with the villain. And he goes to the Pizzazz offices in California. Pizzazz is the comics company, and here he goes to talk to Abner. That's his name, Abner Berry, who's the creator. And so he doesn't have office here anymore. The character is this title is being canceled. Oh my gosh! And so here the kid Wally had gotten in trouble, and he's got to go to, like, a Big Brother thing program, and yada yada yada. Abner interferes. I need your help, and says, stuff is happening. Look, the pictures are drawing themselves as they're appearing. This is my mom, and he's right here behind us. And turn around, and there he is, and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he doesn't know what to do, and he's basically the wizard, like the Wizard of Oz. He says, "Oh, we got to send somebody in to bring him back." So he gets this detective. This is the part that was played by, now I've forgotten his name, Robert Forster. And they never give the character a name. They just leave it out there. But he's basically a Mike Hammer, Sam Spade type private detective. So he goes out there to try to get Captain Justice and bring him back. Meanwhile, crooks are doing some crooked stuff. The kid Wally's mother is a newspaper reporter, and the detective guy, he shows up and tries to get him to come back, and said, no, things have got to change. I've got to be a hero. People have to think of me again. So here we go. It's like some hero. Trashing him. So it gives a brief recap. And here we see this kid, that Wally and his friends are getting. The whole reason Wally got in trouble in the first place was picking pockets to get money, because this kid is extorting money from all the kids in the neighborhood. So that's why he got in trouble. And here's Wally's mother complaining about getting these little fluff pieces. She goes looking for her son, goes to see Abner, and runs into, Abner's not here, runs into the detective. And you can see here that Tony DeZuniga's art has tightened everything up. So Captain Justice is with the kid, finds out why he was in trouble, learns about the problems, and they goes to see the bully kid's dad, and his dad is the criminal who is extorting money from the business owners. And he's proud of his boy. And at this point, he's Captain Justice is facing down all these goons. And this is when he discovers in the real world he doesn't have any superpowers. They just toss him out on his ear, which that makes the kid lose all faith in the guy. See, so the detective and the kid's mother, they do some investigating, because they're going to try to take down this criminal organization. Meanwhile, Captain Justice is trying stuff. He has no powers at all, and he winds up getting drunk. He said he doesn't drink, but he winds up getting drunk, and then he goes back to the comic book world and is just ready to fade away entirely. But then things happen. Even his girlfriend. He's surprised when his girlfriend and everyone actually knows the secret identity. Well, of course we know who you're really so and so. Everyone knows. What do you mean everyone knows? It's written so that we don't know. But as if we don't know. But of course we all know. That really gets him. Then the detective and the kid's mom, they wind up facing down the organized crime guy, and they get in trouble. A lot of tropes. It's okay written. I think the comic might be better written than before. So they're looking for the kid and is looking for his mother, and then pictures start appearing on the Bristol board again. And they're in trouble, beating the crap out of the detective, about to shoot the kid's mom. And then they say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What are we going to call the police? What are we going to tell the police? They won't believe me. Would you believe me? But then, boom, there's a sonic boom. He's back. And suddenly, kablooey, crash. The wall is blown out, or blown in, rather. And there's Captain Justice. Captain Justice, hooray! Captain Justice, and have all these characters from his world and others. Notice it even has Spider-Woman. And in the show, it actually had an actress in Spider-Woman costume there, cheering for Captain Justice, because they're watching on a big screen. And so the gangsters start shooting, and the bullets are ricocheting. And oh my gosh, it forces him to apologize. He's cowed. They call the cops, get him for their crimes, the kidnapping, etc. And then everyone, the news people from the newspaper are there, take pictures of them, and everyone is hooray for Captain Justice. Well, how did you manage to pull that off? I thought you didn't have any powers. Well, I used explosives and a bulletproof vest. That was cute. So he faked his superpowers, but everyone thinks he decides to stay for a while, so everyone can because he's got to help all the people here, and everyone believes in Captain Justice again. His comic readership picks up. Everyone thinks he's a hero, and hooray for Captain Justice! Oh. And I'm glad they didn't do any more, really. It would have been lame. But the show is enjoyable for what it is. It seems like in writing the pilot, they really didn't know a whole lot about comic book production. And they worked with comic book people, so they should have. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. But I do want to point one thing out here. In the corner box. The corner box, they used that pose there on one of the covers on the interior that they showed on the interior here. It's not as well defined, but here it is by Steve Leialoha in the first issue, and it's done again, tighter, looking better on the second issue. And that is actually a figure a swipe of a figure drawn by Gil Kane for Conan the Barbarian. I noticed that right off the bat. So that's just a little fun detail, Easter egg. So thank you for joining me. That's all I got for Captain Justice of Once a Hero. If it strikes you at all, go take a look at it. Check it out, or at least part of it. Decent production values on the show. I think the writing is really the weakest part, and some of the acting maybe. But it really was not worth a TV series, and I can see why they canceled it. But for a TV movie, it's okay. A little TV movie is okay. Okay, and that's all for Captain Justice. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Share with your other comic book friends. Maybe this is something they're completely ignorant of. It's a fun little segment of comic book history. So leave a comment. And remember, people, always remember, comics are art.